KILR Killer Game.
Hello, gamers, simmers, and pilots. Welcome back to the Amiga Flight Simulator 2 World Tour. Kind of. It has been months since I last did an Amiga video on Flight Simulator 2. And there's a reason for the hiatus, but first off, just want to remind you guys to please leave a like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, so that way you'll know when I get more Flight Simulator videos up on the channel. And not just Flight Simulator videos, but I do work on trying to get other types of videos on here as well. One of the themes that I want to try to get going on my channel is Throwback Thursday. No, not Throw Up Thursday, but Throwback Thursday. I want to get some old classic games up on the channel, and so that would include the Commodore 64 and the Amiga. The Amiga, that was my thing. That was my computer. Now, our family computer, when I was growing up, was a Commodore 64. But my very first personal computer that I bought with my money was a Amiga 500. And that very same day, I got Flight Simulator 2. Flight Simulator 2 was part of the reason why I got the Amiga, just because it looked better. It looked better. The graphics were a little bit more smoother. Yeah, I just fell in love with it, and I wasn't playing the Commodore 64 as much. But sadly, and this kind of goes back to the sort of kind of world tour, the Amiga Flight Simulator did not have the type of coverage that the Commodore 64 had. And the Commodore 64 was one scenery disk short of what Microsoft Flight Simulator 2 had, along with 3, both of those. And let me go into detail on what that is. So the Commodore 64, there are a total of 12 scenery disks from SubLogic. The Commodore 64 is missing discs 8, 10, and 12. Number 12 exists for the PC, for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2, which also works with 3. It works on 4 as well, but we'll get to that. 8 and 10 were never made, period. They weren't made for the Commodore 64, they weren't made for the Amiga, and they weren't made for the PC. They just don't exist. They just weren't done. 12, on the other hand, is on the PC, and it's on the Amiga. So it was done on the Amiga. Interesting enough. However, scenery disk 1 through 6 were not done on the Amiga. And there is no way that I know of to be able to convert the ones from the Commodore 64 over to the Amiga. That probably requires a lot of insane programming. I don't know. There are some, pretty good homebrew talented people out there that do amazing things, like mods and stuff. I'm sure there are modders for the Amiga computer, and maybe possibly some Amiga programs. If some of you out there are modders, or maybe you know someone, hey, spread the word to them in regards to what I'm doing on this channel with the Amiga Flight Simulator. Because if someone can convert that data for scenery disk 1 through 6, I will feature it on this channel. Otherwise, we just won't be flying in those areas on the Amiga because they don't exist. So we're going to try to fly as much as we can. We're going to follow the Commodore 64 as much as we can. Ironically, the Amiga is going to be able to go into scenery disk 12 where the Commodore 64 can't. So it's kind of an interesting little thing. But not to fret, because if you like the Amiga Flight Simulator, this style of the Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator 3 and 4, are based off of the Amiga and the Atari ST versions. They are essentially SubLogic Flight Simulator 3. They just call it Flight Simulator 2 for whatever reason, but it is a third generation flight simulator. And naturally, Bruce Artwick was going to do a conversion for the PC, and that's what the Flight Simulator 3 is over there. And it was okay, but they came out with more enhancements with Flight Simulator 4, and that was like released, I don't know, months later. I mean, Flight Simulator 3 really wasn't out that long, and Flight Simulator 4 is just way better. The big thing with Flight Simulator 4 is custom content and third-party scenery and utility development. Whereas with Flight Simulator 2 and 3 and SubLogic, what you had is whatever SubLogic gave you. Well, they didn't give you, but sold you. That was it. It was not open for development to any other company. So Flight Simulator 4 was the first time that happened. And Flight Simulator 3 and 4 look like the Amiga for the most part. So, in the areas that we can't go in the Amiga, I invite you to take a look with what's going on with Flight Simulator 3. Maybe move over to that one in the areas where the Amiga can't fly. But better yet, continue watching with the Flight Simulator 4. This takes me back to the hiatus, the reason for the hiatus. Originally, I was not going to go... Originally, I was going to be waiting on the Commodore 64 and the Amiga and Flight Simulator 3 because Flight Simulator 4 and all the ones after that, they're all flying the same flight plan as the Commodore 64 and the Amiga until they got to La Crosse. When they got to La Crosse, which is where we're at, they continued north. They continued north into Wisconsin and moved over to Minnesota and then back to Wisconsin and Michigan, and now they're going to be going up north into Canada and further on because we're going to be covering the whole world. This Commodore 64 and the Amiga can't go there. There's no coverage for that. Flight Simulator 4, there's coverage because there's custom content. And I even made some. But yeah, so I was going to wait until those simulators came back down and met up at La Crosse, and then they would all continue again. But there have been people watching the Commodore 64 version and the Amiga version, and I don't want to leave them out in the cold. You know, I've got a good set of videos, but I'm sure they want to see more. So I didn't want to leave them hanging. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So that's why I came back with the Commodore 64 and the Amiga to get these videos rolling again. So these next several flights that we'll be flying, the other simulators will eventually... My wife was laughing at me. No, she's just watching something. The other simulators, when they get back to La Crosse, they will be flying to the same airports that we'll be flying to on the SubLogic Flight Simulator 2. It'll be a while. They'll have to catch up. So the flights that you see here is a preview of things to come for the other simulators. Eventually, they'll get here. Just going to take a little bit. Woo! Well, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? But I wanted to give you guys an explanation so that way you know why there was a time gap in between the last video and this one, and to give you a little behind the scenes stuff on what's going on. So there you go. Now let's get into the flight. So I mentioned we were here at La Crosse. This is where we left the last time, and we're going to pick it up from here. So let's go ahead and pull up that handy duty map, and we'll talk about our flight. And here it is, the handy duty map. Chicago area chart, scenery disk reference chart, not to be used for real world aerial navigation. Although I wonder if you could. I know you shouldn't, but I wonder if you could. This is supposed to be based off of real data anyway. I think you could still get around. But anyway, I don't know. Is there any real pilots out there? Have you just, for giggles, have you tried maybe comparing your real charts with the Commodore, you know, with these SubLogic charts, just by any chance? I'm just curious. Okay, anyway, so we're here. Here we are, La Crosse. And we're going to be flying in this direction. We're going to hit Lone Rock first. And then, as we highlight everything, we're going to be landing right here at Dane County Regional Trow. It's funny that this says Trow Field, but if you were to look up this airport, it's actually Truax? The A and the U are in the wrong spot. It should be UAX Field. Unless the one on airnav.com is actually spelled wrong. Okay, so here it is. This is airnav.com. It's cut off here on the side. It says nav.com, but trust me, it says airnav.com. But this is KMSN, and you can see here, all right, Dane County Regional Airport, but look how this is spelled. Truax. I'm pretty sure that is the right spelling, because if you go to a real sectional chart, which is right here, and you were to zoom in, not that far, you will see right here on the map it has Truax. Okay, so this is an actual real sectional chart that you can use. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can use this for real aviation. Airnav.com is not for flight simulator. It's, you know, for pilots, because it's got a whole bunch of pilot information. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is spelled right. And I'm pretty sure that this is spelled wrong. Unless they changed their spelling for whatever reason. Hey, man, you never know. Then again, maybe you do know. Maybe you're a pilot that's flown back in the 80s and you're like, oh yeah, it used to be spelled that way. I don't know. I think it's misspelled. So, and out of curiosity, I just wonder if it's spelled like that over here too. It's Madison. Yeah, see, they spelled it the same way. Right here. Traux. it's it's spelled wrong. Hey, is there anyone out there from SubLogic? Do you know you guys spelt this wrong? Or maybe you just got wrong information. Maybe this is what we were told. We were told to spell it this way. Well, someone messed up. Hey, no one's perfect. But anyway, this is where we're going. We're going to Lone Rock, and then we're going to Dane County. Speaking of not perfect, there was a viewer who left a comment on one of my Amiga Flight Simulator videos. I think I forget which airport it was to, but the guy, it had to have been one where I crashed. And the viewer left a comment saying, you need to learn how to play. Here's a book you should read. I appreciate the view. I really do. I appreciate that he took the time to watch the video or part of it or whatever. And I appreciate the feedback. But it's like, dude, man, I'm not a pilot. I'm not perfect. And this is a really old flight simulator. And it can be quite unforgiving at times, especially when you stall. That's usually when I crash, is because it stalls and then just goes. When in the later simulators, it don't do that. You still have a little bit of control when it stalls. Not on these. You stall this and it's like nose down. Bye-bye. Good luck trying to recover from it. And it usually happens when I try to land too. But and it's an old simulator. So I crash. So what? I'm not trying to act like I'm a perfect pilot or something on these. Just playing it for fun. That's all. But I found that entertaining. Hey, if you are watching by any chance, no offense. Like I said, I appreciate the fact that you're watching these videos. I really do. Just don't take them Don't take them that seriously. We're just here. We're having fun. If I crash, so what? We'll have a good laugh about it. That's all it is. And I can fly the later simulators a lot better than the old ones. They're, like I said, they're more flexible. With these old ones, I used a keyboard because trying to fly with a joystick was not the funnest. But anyway, that's enough babbling. We've been doing this for like 18 minutes or so. Let's go ahead and get to the flight itself. So what we're going to want to do is set our nav radios here. We're going to set nav 1, since it's got the DME, to 108.6. Sounds like a radio station or something. 108.6. 108.6. There we go. As you can see, we're a little too far. Lone Rock. Then again, maybe I should do it the other way so we know how far Lone Rock is. Okay. And Lone Rock was 112.8. 0.8. No, we just don't go that way. There we go. There we go. 68.7 miles away. We're going to go ahead and center, if I can get it to work here. We don't want to go from, but we'll just hold on to that. Wait to go to 2. Nothing yet. It's roughly at a 1, 2, 0. There we go. That red flashing is annoying. I think that's part of the simulator. Or emulator, I should say. Okay, so we want to go to one. That's our vector that we want to use to get to Lone Rock. And from there... Ah, yes, that's what I did on the Commodore 64. I think. I set this up for 112.8. And I set a different vector on this. I set it at... It was approximately 9. 090. Come on. Move. Come on. Come on. There you go. Come on. Oh my goodness. There you go. Alright, so we'll be going from 090 and then connecting up with Madison. We'll change it at that time and coming in for a landing. And you're probably all thinking, what the heck are you talking about? All right. I'll pull up the map again and show you what we're doing. Our flight plan. Okay, so we're going from La Crosse, which is underneath my beautiful face. We're going to be we're flying directly to Lone Rock. Okay, the vector that we're going to be taking is 090, so we're going to be going this way, and then we will catch the Madison VOR and come south at 180. Now, just to check, let's see if it has an hiatus. La Crosse doesn't. Madison, no. It supposedly has fuel. I couldn't find it on the Commodore 64. Maybe it has it on this one. There's no ILS. There's no hiatus. At least not on this version. Maybe in real life it does. I'm sure it does in real life. Or, you know, the modern simulators. But not this one. Not this one. And hey, if it was Flight Simulator 4, you can actually add hiatus to it. I really got into Flight Simulator 4. Flight Simulator 4, it's like, it reminds me of the Amiga version. The sound effects are they're pretty much from the Amiga version. They sound alike. It's just Flight Simulator 4 has got more sound effects added to it and just a whole bunch. It's the Amiga version that should have been, could have been, and wasn't, unfortunately. But it is what it is. So I think we are all set to go. We're going to go ahead and get going. Let's go ahead and turn those mags on. Oh, and what was the map here? Let's see. Map is F3. There's the map. There we go. Trying to make it bigger. This doesn't zoom very fast. Okay, so there's La Crosse. And this one has taxiways. Well, kind of. They're kind of lined out. So let's go ahead and we'll taxi to the end of this runway, and we'll take 18. Runway 18. That's what we will do. I think we can find that taxiway. It was over here somewhere. See, I think the scenery had the potential of being better also. And I'll get into that, because it's going to be a little bit of a long flight. Is this the best that we have for a taxiway? Is this line? Oh, well, we got something over here. Okay, here we go. It's a green taxiway. You don't see too many of those. It's a grass taxiway. That's what this is. See, we use our imagination. It's grass. Now everything is better. Why didn't I think about that before? Have you tried flying this thing with a mouse? I don't mean this. I mean doing a right click on the mouse and trying to scroll it this way and up. Man, if you can fly it that way, kudos to you, because I sure can't. Wait a minute, we're on the wrong one. What the heck? Where's my brakes? How come my brakes aren't working here? Should be the space bar, right? Why is the space bar not working? There it goes. Either that or I went to the... I don't know, we better look up instructions and find out. For some reason, the spacebar was not breaking us. I don't know why. I thought it was the period. No, that is moving the rudder. Take a look down here. See what it's doing? Why is it doing that? I don't know. I don't know why. You got me? It's time to take off. We're just gonna take off this runway. I used to like these center lines, and then as I started playing Flight Simulator 4, I began to realize just how too big those lines really are. But they are definitely better than what is shown on the Commodore 64. That is for certain. Where they're just lines. Landing gear up. No sound effect for landing gear. Shame, 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 shame. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring down the throttle is what I wanted to do. Come on. Get our vertical velocity under control here. Alright, we'll go ahead and turn to heading 125. Okay, I think our gyro compass drifted a bit. There we go. I was trying to remember how to look out the side window, and I can't remember how that was. Was it noon lock? No, that wasn't it. Oh, that was scroll lock. Well, that's definitely not the right key. Is it shift? Nope. Alt? No, that was definitely not it. Well, heck, I don't know how to look out. I forgot how to look out the side. Totally forgot how to look out the side. Well, let's pull up the... Alright, first of all, let's make sure we get ourselves leveled out here at 4,000. Going to use my trim. My trim doesn't work. Dang it! Oh, the keys are different. I thought the 1 and 7 keys on the numerical keypad were going to be the trim. Apparently not. What are they? Is they... Not sure, but we're going to look it up. And let me see if I can find my instructions for the Amiga here. Let's see here. Commodore Amiga. And there's my manual. Alright, let's see. Introduction, running the program, blah blah blah, file selections. Oh, how about keyboard controls? That would be good. Mouse and keyboard. Zero and period control the rudder. Yes, I know. Apparently those are not the only keys that do it. Okay, what about the trim? The SDXC keyboard group. SCDX. Oh, the view mode. Okay, that's not quite what I thought. Yeah, see, on this version, we actually have a spot mode. We've got a spot plane. Well, we don't want the control tower. Cockpit is X. Okay, well, we'll remember that. Now we're up to 3,000. I don't want to be up to 3,000. See, I want to lower the throttle, but I don't want it to get too slow. What the heck is trim? Cockpit view direction. Cockpit mode, you can view from 9 different angles. View control keys are centered around the G key. Okay. So that would mean... There we go. All right, I wanted to kind of show the city of La Crosse. So there it is. It's this yellow thing. Which we're not blessed with those kind of colors in the Commodore 64. Interesting enough, Flight Simulators 3 and 4 are a lot like this. And we can make fine adjustments to the view direction using the cursor keys. That's always good. We can set our spot plane if we want to. Well, too bad I can't find trim anywhere. Climbing, glides, probably went right by it and didn't realize it. Did I use the trim before? I don't remember. Well, I'm sure one thing I can do is come over here and we're still going up. Maybe click on this. There we go. And we'll just use the mouse key right here. That'll work. Okay, so we got some roads going on back there. La Crosse has disappeared. Well, we don't want to do that. We haven't caught the 125 radio yet. We should be close, though. Okay, we got a bit of a flight ahead of us, so we got quite a few things that we can just go over. So, oh, this has got some weight to it. Here is Microsoft Flight Simulator 3. I've been doing a lot of building on my Flight Simulator collection since the last time that I did this video. So this is Microsoft Flight Simulator 3. Now if we just take a look here on the back, you're going to see that this looks a lot like the Amiga version. You see that? Now one primary difference is it doesn't have it's not filled in gray, the control panel, but it's like pretty much almost dead on to it. So RPM, fuel, oil, this is all here. Time, COM, nav1, nav2, ADF, DME. One thing that's nice about the DME on Flight Simulator 3 and 4 is there's a little button you can click on, and it will allow you to switch your DME between nav1 and nav2. That is handy. I like that. Carb heat is here. The landing gear is still here. Flaps are still here. Magnetos are here. They're just a little bit different here and there. Well, now we're going down for quite a bit. Light is still here. Now this here, the mouse cursor is not here. This is actually the strobe lights. We don't have strobe lights on the Amiga version. Zoom, though, this is here, and transponder that does absolutely nothing is right here as well. However, on the Microsoft version, you can use the transponder. I don't think 3 does, but 4 can make use of it by the use of adventures, programmed adventures. I'm going to increase my throttle a bit here. So yeah, with programmed adventures, and this is the first time it showed up, the adventures, you can have it set up to where you have to tune into the transponder frequency in order to contact tower and stuff, or otherwise they don't talk to you. If you want an idea of what it's like, check out my Flight Simulator 4 videos. Not the ones for the World Tour, because I didn't do that on those yet. Look for the one that is the SubLogic USA Tour. There's a playlist for it. But I started making adventures on those. They're custom made, and I put in air traffic control and air chatter, and it's just absolutely amazing what I've done with that simulator. And there's cinematics. Okay, there's no talking or face cam or anything like that on there. There's cinematics, and it kind of gives you an idea of like maybe what we could have had on the Amiga and didn't. So let's go ahead and use our autopilot. This is the first time that we had autopilot. Altitude. We're going to lock that at 4,000 feet. That's another thing too. This is supposed to be the stall light. This is not supposed to be on off for autopilot. Although there are planes that have a little digital display that will let you know when the autopilot's on and off. So I don't know. I guess we could use our imagination over here. But yeah, anyway, Microsoft Flight Simulator 3. Oh my goodness. This also lets you do multiplayer, which you can do on the Amiga version as well. You can do multiplayer on this. I never did, but you can. And then one of my prize collections right here. Brand new copy, sealed, never opened. This is Microsoft Flight Simulator 4. And I just absolutely fell in love with this version because of all the stuff that you can do with it. And again, it's just like Flight Simulator 3. You can see the graphics are the same. This is just a much better version. And with it being a better version, I'm going to talk to you about scenery discs. Oh, where? Okay, here they are. So the scenery discs that I told you about SubLogic, they only released 1 through 12, and basically they didn't release 8 and 10. Some of them had 12 and some didn't. And then you had Japan, Western Europe, and Hawaii. That was it. That's all you got. You did not get the complete USA. Now, for Flight Simulator 4, specifically it was airline transport pilot, but it works on Flight Simulator 4, is USA West and USA East. Just kind of move this back here so you can see the box. Now, this is not what you might think. You may be thinking, oh, okay, that's a collection of scenery discs 1 through 12, and East is scenery discs 7 through 12. Either that or it's 7 through 12 minus 8 and 10. It's not. These are completely redone for ATP and for Flight Simulator 4. And so if we take a look at the graphics here on the back, they're similar, but there's a lot more color going on with the graphics. At night, it just looks really, really nice. See that? And here's the map for USA East, USA West. And I wanted to get these box copies. They're hard to find, but they have maps that are really big. And this, by the way, this folds down. That's how big this map is. In comparison to the regular SubLogic ones. What's the deal with our VOR 1 here? How come we're not... Probably because we need to move a little bit more to the right. That's a little better. Okay, so we got 21 miles, not 21, 29 miles until we get to Lone Rock. So, let me share with you some other stuff that I've collected. Now, I mentioned ATP. Well, that's not it. However, there's my USA East right there. Where? There you are. Now, I don't have a video on this yet, but I will. It is ATP. Flight assignment ATP. This is airline transport pilot. And if you look at the back, the graphics are very similar to Flight Simulator 4. And those scenery discs work. They were made with this first. But this is mainly for airlines. And it's got... so let me tell you what's on here. So you got full auto-flight mode for beginner pilots, adjustable scenery complexity and selectable scenery details, automatic weather system generation, that's nice, structured flight assignments to 26 major U.S. cities, over 350 airports and 480 nav aids, accurate instrument panels for each different aircraft, time acceleration up to 16 times for long duration flights, and new graphics drivers that enhance the display of all SubLogic scenery add-ons. So you can use the old scenery discs on Flight Simulator 4. And that's what I was mentioning before, that you can use them on Flight Simulator 2 and 3, and you can use them on 4. But why would you? Because USA East and USA West is far superior, and you've got coverage of the whole USA. And it's the same thing with this as well. But you've got air traffic control voice on here too, which is really, really cool. So expect a video on this. I don't think we're going to be able to do a world tour with this one. We can do a USA tour on it, because with Flight Simulator 4 I'm going with major airports. I mean, come on, this is an airline, and we can't exactly just, I suppose we could, but with a jumbo jet and some of the short flights that we've done, I don't know, I might give it a try. Could be fun, could be interesting, could be a complete disaster. But let's talk about some of the other stuff I've got here. I've got this Flight Sim Scenery Enhancer. I think this is, yeah, this is for Flight Simulator 2002. It like adds people and animals and stuff. This is what it looks like here. But you can see some pictures here. It's like before, after. Just tiny little enhancement things. Let's see. Getting back to SubLogic, I had no idea that SubLogic made this, but it's Flight. Not to be confused with Microsoft Flight, which was a total dud. I never played it. I don't think I missed anything. But this is from... wait for it. Where is it? There it is. SubLogic, see? So... I think this covered the US also. And Canada. So Eastern or Western US, Toronto, and Montreal, and Canada. That's about the most. This is kind of in between Flight Simulator 4 and 5 in terms of graphics. Just based off of the screenshots here. See that? So we're going to be doing a video on this, and we can this is one based on the fact that there's a, you know, like a Cessna on here. We should be able to do the world tour on this as well. Hopefully Meg's Airport is on here. I would think it is, because when this came out, Meg's Airport was not torn up. And not only that, but I also have ProPilot by Sierra. And this one's got USA coverage. I don't know, you know, how much of it. You know what's interesting about ProPilot is that this was also done by SubLogic and released by Sierra. Check this out. See that? SubLogic, Sierra. How cool is that? Now this one, you know, now we're talking about Flight Simulator, you know, 598 graphics, and this is by SubLogic. So I'll be doing a world, not quite world tour, but you know, we'll be following the Commodore 64 and Amiga with this one. And why would we do that? So that way you can have this nice little comparison of the different simulators and just kind of see what they look like. I don't know how much different this one is, but there is ProPilot USA. I think this has better USA coverage. I'm not sure. It says complete navigation. ProPilot USA includes every navigational aid. But this is by Dynamix. This is not by Sierra. This is not by SubLogic. So I have no idea if this is any good or not. Ooh, it's got the Bonanza V35. That's like my favorite plane. And then I got a really big package here. Big one. Okay, and this is ProPilot 99. This is a sequel. This one is not by Sierra. So the first one was, but then it went to Dynamix, which is a Sierra company. Okay, so it still was Sierra. But SubLogic is no longer on here anymore. And I think the reason for that is SubLogic, they pretty much started working for Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft pretty much said, hey, we'll pay you more money, come work for us. And, you know, that was the end of SubLogic. I also have Flight Unlimited 3. I don't have 1 and 2 yet. I will. These are limited in area, so we're not going to be able to do a world tour on these, but we'll do a tour of some kind with the scenery that it has. But this has got air traffic control, so that should be cool. But yeah, there you go. Some good times. Got some good stuff that's going to be coming along the way. Our fuel's not going down. Our fuel's not going down. Oh well. It's not perfect. Okay, so this river right here, we're getting close to Lone Rock. Just in case you're wondering if we're actually flying where I say we're flying. And we're just not picking some random place and, yeah, this is it right here. No, this is the this is the real part of the map. And let me go ahead and show you. So here's Lone Rock. And right here is that river. Right below that. So we're going to be going at a heading of 090. So we should see this lake right here. I think that's Lake Wisconsin, I think. And then we'll be coming over here to Madison. And we'll see another lake right over here. So it'll be interesting to see what this looks like on the Amiga versus the Commodore 64, because I've been doing a batch record of several Commodore 64 flights, which I did not too long ago, so it's relatively fresh in my mind. It won't be so fresh by the time we get there with Flight Simulator 4, 5, 6, which is Flight Simulator 95, 98, which is 6.1. Flight Simulator 7 is Flight Simulator 2000. FS8 is 2002. FS9, we don't even need to explain FS9. FS9 was where Microsoft finally got it right. FS9 is still very playable today. Flight Simulator 2004, Century of Flight. When that came out, I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. It was that version of Flight Simulator that I had been waiting for since the Commodore 64. It was great. And FSX just took it up another notch. Of course, we had to wait until we had some pretty good processor and graphics cards to really get the most out of it. And even today, when you add the add-ons that are on there, it can still get a little choppy. So it can still get worn down a bit. I do have Prepared now. Lockheed Martin's Prepared. I'm going to make a turn here. I'm going to get ready to catch that 090 radio. The interesting thing about Prepared is that it runs better. It runs better than FSX. And I have P3D version 4, 4.5 to be specific. And it's 64-bit as opposed to FSX, which is 32-bit. And so it makes use of 4 gigabytes of memory and more. I've got, I don't know, 24 gigs or something. And yeah, it just performs better. Why I waited to get P3D, I don't know. I should have gotten it a lot sooner. And I've got some videos out. I did some test videos to start off with because I wasn't sure how it was going to perform, and it was performing much better than I expected. And I did my first cinematic flight with it, which was Escape from Hurricane Dorian, which was a challenge for me because I wanted to get some real-world data of a hurricane and try to fly with it. And although the thing with Hurricane Dorian was very tragic, I'm not trying to make light of that situation at all, but it did actually give me data to work with to be able to do a flight, and that's why I did that. But I also did a dedication at the very end of the video to the Bahamas and the airport there at Freeport, because it's destroyed. The whole area got flooded and it's just wiped out. So it's sad. Okay, let's go ahead and change our Nav1 radio to Dane County. Well, Madison, actually. 108.6. That's the comm radio. 108.6. There we go. 36 miles to go. And we're going to change our VOR radio to 180. There we go. So we're all set to go now. And here is that lake. Lake Wisconsin, I believe. Let me go ahead and check my facts. Let's make sure that I'm giving correct information. Okay, well, I'm not going to find it on that map. It's not on the chart. Let's pull up Google Maps. That might actually tell me what I want to know. La, 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 la. Yes, Lake Wisconsin. I was correct about that. In case you're wondering, here's the map. Lake Wisconsin, right here. It's messing up the sound. Yep, so we got Lake Wisconsin up there. This river, which I'm not sure what that is. We just as we passed our mark here. Just as we start passing this lake, we should be able to start making our turn south to get to Dane County. Since we got our views going here, we can take a look around. And look at the, the nice blue line and gray lines and all that fun stuff. Now, although I had flown the Amiga Flight Simulator, I did not fly it as much as I did on the Commodore 64. The Commodore 64, I had all the scenery discs, and I really did fly from West Coast to East Coast, and I flew into different scenery areas. I did not fly it that much on the Amiga. When Flight Simulator 5 came out, and I saw that for the PC, I was like, whoa. I gotta play that. And so I had gotten the PC version, PC emulator for the Amiga. Do you guys remember the implant board? It was a Macintosh emulator to start with. It was created by Jim Drew. And it had a great Macintosh emulation. There was also Shapeshifter. That was the other Mac emulator. It's like it did some things better than what the implant board did. Some said the implant board wasn't even necessary, but Jim Drew came out with the PC emulator of implant, and no. It worked as far as bringing Windows shoot, did it bring up Windows 3.1? Yeah, it brought up Windows 3.1 like a slideshow. I did manage to get Flight Simulator 5 working on it, but it was like, a slideshow. It definitely was not playable. I tried. I tried. Didn't work. So it was not long after that where I had actually bought my very first PC, my first IBM compatible, and it was a Packard Bell Pentium 90. And I bought it because I wanted to play Flight Simulator. I wanted to play Flight Simulator 5. I couldn't run it, at high specs, high graphics and stuff. But I was excited. So I played that one I played quite a bit. When Flight Simulator 98 came out, oh my goodness, I was all over the place on that one. That was my jam. Flight Simulator 98 was my jam. Because I had the ProFlight 98 air traffic control, created adventures, and you had the air traffic control and stuff. Yeah, that was my jam. Still have fun with it today. I did get Flight Simulator 2000 when it came out. Barely flew it. I think I flew it like 3 or 4 times. So I flew that one. I'm flying it. I've already flown it a lot more on this channel than I did when I first got it. Flight Simulator 2002, never got it when it came out. So the flights on this channel of Flight Simulator 2002 is my very first flights using that flight simulator. FS9, that was my Flight Simulator 98 replacement, was Flight Simulator 9. And that one I flew around the world. And FSX, I hadn't, but I'm definitely getting a lot of flight time out of FSX. And give it some time and I'll be caught up with P3D, because P3D is good. You add the Orbix scenery to that. You get your Rec Skyforce 3D with the clouds and the active sky. Whole loads of other stuff, and it's amazing. And X-Plane is amazing too. But next year we got Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 coming out, and it just looks, it's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing in what it looks like. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look around, see what we got. Okay, that over there, I am willing to bet is Madison. Here's our Lake, Wisconsin. I'm thinking that red thing there is the Dell's Vor. We never saw the one for Lone Rock, did we? Nope, didn't think so. I don't think those red sticks are always representative of the Vors. Now our altitude for Madison is what? I don't know, it would help if I could scroll over and see it. 863 is the altitude at Madison. So I think we're at the right altitude of 4,000. It's roughly 3,000 above. That's usually kind of like where I fly on the old simulators, is around 3,000 to 4,000 above ground level. Oh my goodness, I'm tired. It's late. This is not good. Our speed has gone down to 60 here. What's going on here? I might have hit the throttle. Let's go and bring our throttle up here. Let's look at our elevator trim. It's gone way up here. Goes, it's finally going. If I wasn't careful, this thing was going to stall on me. We would have had another crash, and that viewer be shaking his head. Dude, man, you just don't know how to play. Oh, the landing gear is down. That's part of the problem. What did that go down? I must have smashed on the keyboard or something. That's okay, we'll leave it down. We're 17 miles away. That's why we slowed down as much as we did. Ah, that's the airport. Right here, this little white thingamajigger. I think we can go ahead and start our turn now. Okay, not that far. Just a little bit. Take a look at our views. Take a look at Lake Wisconsin. We got our spot plane. So I can do cinematics with the Amiga version. I think that would be cool, especially if I can find some Amiga music to use for some music segments. That's what I've been doing with Flight Simulator 4. There's music that I wrote, composed actually, with Magic's Music Maker. But for the Amiga, there's a lot of talented artists that made Amiga music, so great to feature that. Don't know if anyone would be interested in a cinematic for the Amiga version, but I can certainly do it since this has a spot view. I don't know. Let me know. We can do a flight from like a major city to a major city that has coverage. Oh. Oh, goodness, I'm tired. I should get myself caffeine, and then that way I can stay up and do some more videos. It's for the people, man. It's for the people. It's for you guys. I'm going to lose sleep so that way you guys get the videos. You're welcome. "13 miles to go." See, here's the lake. Okay, told you about the lake that was nearby. There's the city. City should be kind of surrounding it. And there's an interstate that's here, and there's another one right there. Another thing that sets apart the Amiga version from Flight Simulators 3 and 4, besides the fact that this is all filled in with gray and has a big, the standard Amiga cursor, is this little guide T thing right there. This is the only one that I'm aware of that has this. Well, okay, maybe Atari ST as well. I think the Atari ST and the Amiga version are like identical. Okay, so when is the 180 radio going to come into play here? It's like it's still not... It's got to be close. What was the map? F3? Well, I'm zooming out, but that doesn't seem to be doing much. Oh. Oh, we got to trust our instruments. Trust the instruments. We know it's working because the DME is working. Ah, it just moved. Yay! Finally. We're getting closer to the 180 the radio. There it goes. We'll go and begin our turn. Oops. Not quite what I wanted to do. Okay, let's turn off the autopilot. Turn off the autopilot. I thought you were supposed to be able to click this and it turns off, but... Aha! We can see the runway. We can see the runway. There it is right there. We're coming close to lining up with it. Let's drop one thing of flaps, which has no sound effect. It's like I want to hear the sound effect. Oh, that was another thing too. Flight Simulator 3, it didn't have any digitized sound effects. That didn't happen until Flight Simulator 4. And you had to get an expansion for that. The Sounding Graphics and Aircraft Upgrade, SGA. That's what people abbreviate it as. Seven miles. Come on, flaps. Let's get this bird slowed down. So the little T there in the middle kind of makes it a little bit nicer when it comes to lining up with the runway. Okay, so let's see, our landing gear is down. We're at 80 knots. Not too bad. Wish I could get the trim to work with the keyboard. .8 miles. This is where I start using the rudder. But it looks like we're lined up pretty decently, actually. That's another reason why I was liking the Amiga Flight Simulator. It was much easier to line up with the runway. Take a look at our windows. See if the altimeter needs to be adjusted. It doesn't look like it. Four miles to go. I wonder if this big white blob over here is the fuel box or not. No, that's the runway. You can see the gray surround it. I thought maybe it was, but seemed bigger than what I was expecting it to be. Our flaps are halfway down. I don't think they need to go any further down. Look at our airspeed. That's our VASI indicators. We are too high. We better get lower. It's white over white. I forgot to look up what our brakes were. Maybe it's the control or the out key, I don't remember. We're coming in. 1.4 miles. Kind of high. Bit of a steep angle there, but I think we'll be okay. Gotta like how that other VASI indicator there is kind of like on the runway. Do not stall. Do not stall. That is such a vicious screeching sound. I'm trying to find the brake key. We can move our flaps up. I think we stopped. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the map here. There it is. There's our airport. I would say we could go get some fuel, but that doesn't seem to be working. For whatever reason. Well, if there's a fuel box here, I don't see it. But again, the fuel gauges don't appear to be working. So I guess that's that. And we'll just stay right here on the runway because, well, we're just kind of like, there's no one else flying in this world. It's just us. Thanos did the snap. Everyone's gone. It's just us. But anyway, that's it. We're here at Madison, or in Madison, at the Dane County Truax, whatever, however you want to pronounce it, field. And thank you for joining me. If you haven't looked at the Commodore 64 version, go in and check that one out. And eventually I will get Flight Simulator 3 caught up with these, and you can take a look at that one. It won't sound pretty, but the graphics should be good. And oh, I don't know, 5 years from now or something, maybe FS4 will finally get back into this area. Hopefully it won't take that long. But yeah, so there we go. Thanks for joining me. And there are some other Amiga videos on this channel, so take a look. You might find something that you like. And I definitely need to get some more Amiga type videos on the channel. Definitely. And tons of flight simulator videos. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that way you will know when a new video comes up. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.